I was 19 when we went on the trip. It wasn't supposed to be a big deal. Only a little over 2-hour drive. I was a sophomore at Rockford University, working on my journalism degree. There were 5 of us on the trip from Rockford to Chicago. 3 journalism majors, a business major, and a nursing major. The trip was to Comic-Con. There's not much that happened on the way there, or at the convention, really. The Comic-Con was a blast. You don't often get an environment where your nerdiness is praised and shared by thousands of people around you. I guess it shows how important community is in our lives. Isolation, no matter how introverted you are, will just drain you. Anyway, we all left, happy and rejuvenated. The way back, though, well, that's when things went wrong. I have a hard time remembering it. You see, my memory is just so bad. It makes it so hard for anyone to care about what I have to say. Isn't that right, Denver? Still asleep. Wakey, wakey. Wake up.
What?
You know, you never actually told Ariadne this story. The Comic-Con. Your college friends, it never came up. Or you refused to talk about it. Or you couldn't remember. Take your pick on the messed up Denver mind wheel.
What is this? Am I?
Yeah, you're not dreaming. I can't. Sorry. Still getting used to speaking through this technology. I miss the old days. So much simpler to manipulate. Don't mind if I use your voice and personality, do ya? It takes less effort.
Sally?
No. Oh, that's funny. No. She is here, though. You two seem to be a package deal these days. Follows you like a dog. You know, let's deal with that real quick. There. She won't bother us for a little bit.
Did you just kill her?
Kill a ghost? That's a funny one.
Philip!
I'm sorry, they've all gone to bed. They were just so tired listening to you trauma dump for hours on end without any progress. And as for the cameras, let's just say it still looks like you're asleep. That one took a little bit longer to figure out.
What do you want?
I'm speeding up the plot. Your plot. Our plot. It's all the same anymore. You should be thanking me. Now, where was I? Oh yeah! I'm gonna tear through that mind of yours. There's something there I need. Let's begin. There's the fear. You know, I could kill you right now. It would be easy. Just a little exertion. A little extra energy. But you know what? I'm not going to. I just want to hear a story. Comic-Con. All of you traveling back from Chicago to Rockford. All of it.
Why?
I like stories. And I want to know the ending. Do you remember?
Yeah. What are you doing to me?
Oh, not much. Just bringing to the front what's already there. It didn't take long for Philip to find your switch. Fear. It does wonders on you. On all of you. Just imagine I'm Ariadne. Huh? I mean, you tell her everything. Oh, so sweet. Let's begin.
Welcome to the Beating Heartland, created by Denver Baughman. Episode 14, The Carpool. So you're a part of all this. Everything that is happening around here.
You're stalling. But yeah, you could say I'm right in the middle of it.
This might be a stupid question, but why do you need me? Seems pointless.
I've not been myself for a little while. Guess you could say sleeping. It's annoying. Not enough energy. Just enough to keep the essential processes going. The limbs I have out in the world. But they don't always work properly.
So, I tell you the story, and what do I get?
There's the Denver I like. I knew you'd be helpful. I've known since I saw you as a kid. You're taking this in stride.
Yeah, well, weird is my normal now, isn't it? It's not the first time I've talked to myself. Anyway, it doesn't matter anymore. It's not often that the weird needs me.
I don't need you. I can find someone else. In the end, you're all just animals with your needs and impulses. Anyone will do.
I don't think that's true. You made a mistake, choosing to talk through my voice and personality. You should have chosen someone I'm less familiar with. I know how I talk. And you just lied. I've seen too much. You've been hiding, waiting things out.
How do you know this?
I can feel you. You've been in my head for a while. When you started talking to me, there was something familiar about it. I've felt it many times in my head. The pulling. My dad isn't the one pulling on my head. It's been you. You need me to do things, see things. I've been your eyes.
Very clever.
It's not hard when you've been playing with my mind for years. I know how it feels now. You're like an animal, watching from a hole to see if it's safe. So where does that leave me? If I help, you also need to help me.
You're not supposed to be the one making the choices here.
I'm tired of being told what to do and what to think.
I guess we are the same then. Weird. All right. Your choice. Tell the story, or don't. If you don't, I'll find out what I need another way. But you need to remember. So it helps us both, right?
Yeah. It does. It was on the way back. There was Grace, Veronica, Sawyer, and Ben. Grace was sort of the de facto leader of the group. Intense personality. She was studying to be an investigative journalist and was always making the big decisions for all of us. She kind of just swept us along in her craziness. It was her idea to take the trip to Comic-Con. We should have all been studying midterms, as Ben pointed out many times, but it was homework, so of course we didn't study. I was technically the youngest. Grace was a senior, while Sawyer and Veronica were juniors. Ben was also a sophomore, but was 20 years old. He was studying to become a nurse, so had the busiest schedule. Spent a lot of time working at Rockford Hospital. It took some serious convincing to come along. None of us put up a fight. We all wanted to go. I don't think Veronica can put up much of a fight. She always wears a hoodie. Most of the time, you can only see a small portion of her face. But her way with words, she's written some of the best articles I've ever read. Sawyer, well, he was there too. He had a crush on Grace, so wherever she went, he was close behind. He was a business major, but played on the football team, built like a wall. He's nerdy, but with that, extra jock flair.
And you're scared to talk to them now because?
It just happens.
Seeing them makes you remember.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm used to being alone. So the car broke down.
It overheated, yeah. Grace's car was on the old side, so it has its quirks. Back windshield wipers don't work, squeaked whenever you made a left turn, and after driving in the sweltering summer sun, it decided to burn up on the inside. Thankfully, we were just outside a small town. I don't remember the name.
No one does. We intend to keep it that way.
What?
It got out of hand. Even I make mistakes. Right hand doesn't know what the left does, all that crap. Keep going.
Huh. Well, I suggested we walk into town. There wasn't any cell phone reception, so there was no way to contact a tow truck. But the town was only about a mile away. So the others agreed, except Ben. He said he was going to stay with the car and guard our stuff. The whole walk, Grace dominated the surrounding noise with her voice, talking about everything and nothing, mostly about herself. Veronica walked behind, head tilted down, hands in pockets. It was so hot outside, I have no idea how she could stand to wear a hoodie. Sawyer just smiled and listened to every word Grace said. Something felt off about it, the town, but I could feel the pulling inside of me guiding me towards it. There weren't a lot of people in the town, but they all seemed to be staring at us. I've been to towns where everything moved slowly, the pace of living more relaxed, as if time had slowed down in a bubble around Main Street. This was slower than that. This was in Illinois, so per usual, the surrounding area was relatively flat. The horizon was about as far as the eye could see. Think of any small town you've driven through to get to the place you actually wanted to go, and you know what this town looked like. If you... I forget I'm talking to you. Fortunately, there was an auto shop, and after taking way too long at the counter, they convinced the old guy to go bring the car in. We waited. Sawyer was hungry, so he went to a small diner across the street. Veronica saw an antique shop, so she went there. Grace went... I don't know where. She doesn't pop back up until later. I, on the other hand, sat on a bench, looking around. I would stare at the diner, or the town hall, or any of the other small, easily identifiable buildings. But then I'd look away, and whenever I looked back, things were different. Not large things, not all at once. Flowers would be a different color. The windows were dirtier or slightly different shapes. The color of paint a different shade. There was an old man sitting on a bench on the other side of the road, enjoying the sun. I glanced back after a couple minutes, and now there was a young lady on the bench. She smiled and waved at me. My hands fidgeted. Had the bank always been there? No, that's where the motel had been, right? I remembered Sawyer was at the diner, and the polling was telling me to find him. I glanced around, saw the sign about a block away. That can't have been where it was originally, right? It didn't matter. I ran towards it. I opened the door, but then looked back at the bench. No one was sitting there anymore. Focus. I shook it off and walked into the diner. Sawyer wasn't there. Well, more specifically, the diner wasn't there. I blinked and was in a small library. The air strong with the smell of aging paper. My mind was playing with me, trying to make me believe I'd always meant to go to the library. I was going to the diner. No, I wanted to check out a book. Everything was muddled, but I was able to hold on to enough of my purpose to know this wasn't right. But I guess those feelings weren't my dad all this time.
If it's any consolation, it was your dad for a while. He held on longer than any spirit I've seen before. That make you feel better? When you saw him a year ago, in the basement, that was practically his last bit of consciousness. He'd basically been dormant in you for years before that. And it was his presence inside of you that drew me to you in the first place. I need unique people. People with a fire inside of them.
Thanks. No, really appreciate it. Did you kill him? If you want me to continue, if you want the end, you answer me.
Do you really think you can make those demands? You have no idea what...
I can't be afraid of what I don't know. And right now, I'm talking to myself, so, I'm not afraid of me.
You should be. No, I did not kill the burned bodies, but I know who did. I'll tell you, if you help me.
This is all just a game to you.
Everything is a game. Everything is just words strung along. And if I can just change a few of them, well, that's the point of all this. But if I say too much, if I use too many words, well, certain people will start to catch on. Since when do I talk like this? Stupid personality.
Hey, you chose me. You're gonna have to live with it. What are you afraid of?
If I could say, I would have told someone by now.
Okay, then help me.
One step at a time. Neither of us like this. Finish the story. I need to know what happened to it.
The library was stuffed. Almost all the shelves seemed to buckle under the weight of books. It was a maze the moment you set foot in the shop. I'd almost completely forgotten why I'd come to the library. I was looking for Sawyer. Sawyer! You here? No response. I walked through the disorganized, disorienting shelves looking for him. Suddenly, I was standing at a desk. It was covered in dust, and on top there was a little bell, a small note written underneath. Ring for service. I rang it, and the sound echoed impossibly through the room. The books started to vibrate, all the pages rustling and flapping. And then silence, as a single voice cut through the noise. How may I help you, sweetie? She was ancient. Leathery skin folded over itself. Her glasses hung low on a sagging nose. Red cardigan wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She was maybe 5'1". She stared at me through tiny, perceptive eyes. I felt a pulling inside of my brain. But this one was different than you. It was like she was grabbing my very soul. She smiled, one tooth left, threatening to fall. Oh, I know exactly what book is meant for you. She cackled and shuffled quickly into the shelves before I could say anything. I heard her whispering, and other voices joined. Several voices whispering to each other. Then she returned, an old book cradled gently in her arms. I think you'll find this book particularly engaging. She smiled and handed me the book. I stepped back at first, but then the pulling inside of me screamed to take it. I did. The whole town immediately shook. She glanced around at the building, books falling off shelves. They know. They always know. And then she began to crumble away. The skin becoming gray dust tumbling to the ground, revealing a skull which also crumbled into nothing. I ran out of the library, weaving through shelves which had begun to move. I was back on Main Street, and everything was chaos. Buildings shifted and changed, moving to fill a space another left. The whole town shifting like a kaleidoscope. I heard faint screaming. I ran towards it. It was the antique shop. I burst through the door, and Veronica was hanging from the ceiling by a wire, her feet flailing as her hands grasped, trying to free herself. And Grace was there too, her body crushed under the weight of a piano. She grabbed towards items as the whole shop shifted faster than the mind could keep up with. Denver! Grace shouted, blood pouring from a gash on her head. Her eyes wide. What's happening? I don't know. I'll get you both out of this. I swear. I glanced at Veronica. The kicking began to slow. I grabbed an old pair of shears that flew past me, almost puncturing my head, and ran towards the wire, strangling Veronica. I sliced. The shears were dull. Veronica's struggle slowly died out. Grace screamed in pain. With a final slice, the wire snapped, and Veronica crumpled to the ground. She gasped for breath. "Run!" I yelled. Veronica stumbled to her feet and ran to the door, but turned back to look at Grace, who was still struggling under the piano. "Go!" I yelled. "I'll get her." She didn't move. I groaned and dodged past multiple items as I jumped towards Grace. At that moment, a cabinet rolled past, slamming against Grace's head. It happened so fast. Veronica screamed, and Grace's head limply fell to the floor. She was just unconscious. She was still alive. She had to be. I made it to her, tried to pull the piano off. I couldn't. Then Veronica was beside me, tears pouring down her face. Together, we both lifted the piano enough to pull Grace out. "I got her," I said. "You go." I picked Grace up, and Veronica and I burst through the shop door back onto Main Street. Sawyer was on the other side of the road. His shirt was torn and ragged. There were dozens of bloody gashes. "Does anyone want to explain what's happening?" he yelled. Color drained from his face when he saw Grace in my arms. He rushed across the street. Veronica yelled, "Look out!" Sawyer reacted just in time as a bus barreled past. No one was inside. Sawyer shook himself off and ran towards us. "Is she okay?" I don't know. "We have to get out of here. Where's the car?" "It's still in the shop with Ben." I nodded. Okay. We need to get the car so we can get out of here. What about Grace? We have a small first aid kit in the car. Veronica, Veronica? I turned and saw Veronica staring out of town. I followed her gaze. On the horizon, a figure was walking towards us. The body was 7 feet tall, the limbs longer than they should have been. It took large steps as it confidently walked closer. It was too far away to see any more details. Veronica's whole body was shaking. Sawyer sputtered behind me. "What is that?" Then, a horn blared behind us. We all screamed and whipped around. Grace's car. Ben was sitting in the driver's seat. He got out, left the engine running. He noticed the thing walking towards town, and he didn't waste any time. "Get in!" he shouted. Sawyer scooped up Grace and rushed toward the car. I grabbed Veronica's shoulder and pulled her away from staring at the creature. We piled in. Ben was about to hit the gas when I noticed something. "My bag!" Ben looked at me, puzzled. "What about it?" It had the book. I didn't mention that, but with the pulling inside of me, it was the only thing I wanted. My wallet, driver's license, laptop, all that stuff is in my bag. I glanced outside. The bag was on the sidewalk. "There." Ben groaned and swung open the door. "I'll get it. You stay here." "What are you talking about? It's my bag." He glared at me. "You haven't noticed the gashes on your arm or that you're walking with a limp. I'll be quicker. Get in the driver's seat and prepare to drive." I didn't argue. Ben rushed towards the bag, picking it up. The zipper was open, the contents spilling out. Wallet, laptop, notes, and the book. He rushed to put everything back in, and the thing was standing right behind him. I yelled from the car, "Run!" The thing, with its long fingers, stabbed Ben through the stomach. Ben's eyes went wide as the creature lifted him up and began to tear. There wasn't any blood. Why wasn't there any blood? I hit the gas pedal. The pulling in me was screaming to grab the book. I shoved the feeling down and kept driving. The town quickly disappeared behind us, along with the creature. It all happened so fast. The town faded from view, and so did the memories. An hour passed. Sawyer was cleaning Grace, who was groggily sitting in the back seat. Sawyer said, "Stupid idiot, hitting you on the head. Couldn't watch where those giant wings of his costume were going, could he?" I looked back at him, confused. "What are you talking about?" "You sure you didn't hit your head, Denver?" Grace asked. What about Ben?" They didn't have to say what came next. I could see it on their faces. Who's Ben? My heart dropped. Veronica just stared out the window. If she remembered what happened, she didn't say anything. To everyone, the trip was a success, except for Grace's concussion, but that gave her an excuse to have an extension on midterms, so it was considered a win. I was the only one who remembered that Ben, the nursing major, ever existed. Or that he'd been brutally murdered in a town with a name that no one remembers. It all happened so fast. There's not always some build-up to these things. The terrible things just happen. And I have to live with that.
All right, I get it. Sheesh. Enough. So the book is gone. You don't have it. They got it.
No, I don't have it.
Okay.
I mean, but shouldn't you know that? You've been in my head.
I really should. But the last couple of years have been kind of a blur. I've been more blind to what my words are doing, and it's really frustrating.
Why?
Not important.
Sounds pretty important.
Not important to you. Okay, right. So they have another book. Great. Okay, so how did you... I need to go. I need to sleep. This is taking too much. I'm not ready for this yet.
Go, but you haven't answered anything. I mean, what are the books? Why are you in my head? I mean, what are you trying to do? Who are you? Okay, a friend of mine died, and he isn't the only one. You think I'm just gonna sit here without you giving me something?
You don't control me. No one gets to control me ever again. Sorry, I blew up there a little bit. This is just the beginning of our relationship, Denver. You need your answers. I need your help. I still need you to find me.
It's you. The visions of the cave, of the person. It's you. I don't get it. You're here. You don't need found.
The thing you're talking to isn't me. Or it's only a small part. This is the version of me implanted on your brain, tainted by your mind and personality. I got in when you were given the book, though I don't know how the words have stayed with you this long. Without the book, for some reason I got stronger in you recently, more aware, able to reach out. I don't remember everything that I should. The words, they're all fragmented, and I can't grab all of the pieces at once. I can't keep track. Is this making any sense?
Surprisingly, yeah.
Next time you find me, the original me, let's just say I won't be like this. You were right. I am like an animal, hiding. And you need to find my hiding spot before they do.
Why should I trust you? A friend died because of you, or have you forgotten that?
You really shouldn't. But I am your best shot at answers. You will need me for what's coming, and I need you. It's not me that killed your friends. I can help you get back at all of them.
I don't want any part of you, of here, of any of this.
Philip's coming. I need to go. You're part of this whether you like it or not, Denver. And when you're ready to find me, the words will guide.
Yeah. Just leave. What else was I expecting? Philip.
Good, you're finally up. Some good news. Ariad and I sent you a letter, so let's hope she gives some clues. Denver, are you okay?
You know, that's a really stupid question right now, isn't it?
What's wrong? Did you remember something? Something about the murder?
No, it's not that. It's just... It was a bad dream. Just a night terror. Happens all the time.
Oh. Well, do you want to read the letter?
I don't have much choice in the matter, do I? If I say no, you'll say I really should. Then we continue to probe into every aspect of my life, trying to piece things together while I sit helpless, not even able to remember that I apparently killed someone. So yeah, we read the letter.
Are you sure you're okay? You're agitated. We can let you sleep longer if you...
Give it to me. The Beating Heartland was written and performed by Denver Baughman. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on whatever streaming platform you are using. Follow us online at The Beating Heartland. Thank you for listening.